She's part of that one.
Yeah.
One camp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Please find your seats at 7 o'clock.
Who's on? They are.
This meeting is called to order. It's the regular meeting for the City Commission on Tuesday, May 28th, 2019. And if you will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, we have an invocation with Pastor Sid Moon of St. John's Church in Baroda. You can, please come up to them. Thanks.
Let's pause in prayer. You who are the source of wisdom and the giver of compassion, guide us as deliberations occur this evening so that your wisdom will become our wisdom. Permit us to listen respectfully, to persevere in the work of building a city of opportunity, a city of fairness, a city of inclusion, a city that becomes a beacon on a hill. For the work of community, we give you thanks, and we ask you for your strength in doing that important work. Amen.
Thank you so much. We don't have any special recognitions this evening, so let's proceed with the roll call, please.
Moore,
Present.
Dennison,
Here.
Downey,
Here.
Turney,
Here.
Whedon.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are now going to hear public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any item on the agenda this evening. Please come up and use the podium.
Norma Ferris, resident. I am for the street lighting. Vote yes. The wastewater treatment plant is on the agenda tonight 3 times. How long are you going to tell me I will have wastewater privilege in this city if that place has fallen apart and should have been taken care of a long time ago? Can you give me an answer?
Well, we will discuss each of those items when we get to that, but the whole point is we are keeping one system going as we are trying to position ourselves to launch a new system. So you will have it as, it's part of our city services, so don't have to worry about it. But how we do it in a cost-effective way, that's what we decide in these meetings. So that is your answer.
Energy since post-World War I.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Mansell Pitt, West Chicago, 312. I've got another question about the future waterworks, and I may have missed some coverage in between, but there was a lot of talk about the 100-year life of the concrete construction of an oxidation ditch, and I was wondering whether the prices we're going to pay on, I don't know how many bids we're going to get, but what the prices are going to be for the maintenance as well as the concrete. In other words, there are various pumps and fans and all sorts of things built into a ditch, which have pretty hostile environment. So they will have a short life, and when you look at the 100-year or the 50-year or even the 20-year, which we're paying for, I'd like to ask whether the coverage, the price, includes the maintenance of all those sort of mechanical components as well as the ditch. And is that what we're going to put on the bond, or is it basically just the initial setup, and then the rest of the maintenance will be run by city water taxes and so on? So what are we bidding on, and what are we going to pay for?
Okay, we'll make sure that questions addressed during our discussion of those items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Monroe LeMay. I'm from Shermer Parkway. This is Carly Wendorf, my mini-me. We are here to represent One Buchanan, and we would like to thank Sid Moen for bringing this to Mayor Moore, the non-discrimination ordinance of 2019. This is something that is really important to us, and we'd like to thank you. I've been here for 18 years. When I first came, I came in like a forceful person from New York City, thinking that everything was going too slow. But Buchanan actually is one of the most progressive places that I've ever lived in. We take things at our own pace. I was taught to slow down and really respect the people who live here. My family has lived here for many, many years. And this is something that is very important to us as One Buchanan. We have people on our board that we respect tremendously. Sid is one of them. We have Harvey Burnett. We have Tim Donahue, who we feel is extremely helpful in this organization at moving our children forward for this non-discrimination ordinance. We have Ruth Ryder. We have many, many different people, Kyra Clark. All these people sit on our board, and they help us through this. So this is important to us, and we want to thank you all for even bringing this to the table.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Sorry to be double duty here. I'm not representing One Buchanan. My name again is Sid Moen, 104 Mount Tabor Road, Buchanan. I'm here in my capacity as the convener of Interfaith Action of Southwest Michigan. It's a collaborative of 28 faith-based congregations who are working collectively to advance faith-based issues around peace and justice here in Southwest Michigan. Interfaith Action believes that the face of God is reflected in the face of all humanity. And given that commitment and that belief, we advance full and equal protections for everyone based on race, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, income. Consequently, we're very supportive of the proposed non-discrimination ordinance. It reflects those commitments. It also reflects the model non-discrimination ordinance recommendations from the Michigan Commission on Human Rights. It also mirrors the core principles of the Equality Act, which was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives last week. And it also is very similar to the non-discrimination expanded ordinance that was passed by the city of St. Joseph about a month or more ago. South County pride is such that I'd be delighted to have the South County be an anchor in addition to North County's anchor in evidencing a city that is fully committed to diversity and inclusion. We at Interfaith Action think that the proposed non-discrimination ordinance is a good thing to do. It represents the principles of inclusive, fair, and equal democracy. We also believe it's the right thing to do because it represents the morality of inclusion. We're grateful for your consideration of an expanded non-discrimination ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Pastor Nan Denke. May I speak?
Oh, please do.
All right.
This is your time.
All right. I am the pastor at St. John's Lutheran in Baroda. I have many members who live in Buchanan. That is one of the reasons why I'm here. I have been looking at some of the information that I have read about your city, and I was struck by several things. One of your priorities for your city commission is that of welcome and making sure there are welcome signs out in your community. Welcome is only welcome if we move past the hello towards inclusion and fairness and justice and peaceful action with others. I also noticed that you are a city of promise, and I was curious about what that was, so I read up on that. And the Upton Foundation is part of the support for that program of the City of Promise. No longer?
No,
Okay, that's what
that
was.
has nothing to do with the Upton Foundation.
Right.
Oh,
No.
It's our Michigan Gateway Community Foundation and a
okay.
specific fund within that foundation, which is
okay.
housed
My
here in town.
apologies. My apologies.
But we'll take their money if you want to talk to Fred.
All right, then let me go to this point. Your sign up here says, "Life is better here." And if indeed life is going to be better here in your community, it would be in a community that is attentive to and responsible for being a respecter of people, seeing no divisions among people, and being inclusive and welcoming. It is with great thanks and heartfelt support as a member of the Interfaith Action and also as a pastor of people who live in the community that you have brought this to the attention and have it on your agenda. So we thank you for that. I also thank you for the consideration and the openness to consider how we might be better together in all of our communities, particularly here and in Michigan and in the bigger communities. And I believe that one of the tenets that helps us be better together is when we see each other as people and we just seek to care and include and make good places so that life truly is better for all of us. So thank you for including the consideration, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward?
Good evening. Donna Manel, I'm a resident here of Buchanan, 113 East Front Street. As you go through the agenda today, I've just kind of noted a couple things. If you could provide clarification or an explanation instead of doing a cursory vote on. One happens to be on the consent calendar, item E, where you talk about delinquent utility and mowing bills in the amount of $8,442 being contributed to the 2019 summer tax. If you could explain exactly what that means to the citizens. Is that being added on to our tax bills, or is that something that's already included? Also, under new business, items A and B, you're going to discuss $26,000 for a finance advisor and $47,000 for, it looks like, counsel for the bond issues that you are seeking. If you could explain the difference between the finance that you have already that you employ and counsel that you already have, and why you would need additional finance and counsel for the bond issues. Also, I'm just kind of curious as to what the asterisk means at the end of some of the items on the agenda, but not all. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comments. As far as the consent calendar, most people are aware during the meeting, when we have something that is on the consent calendar, it is something that is non-controversial. It's kind of like a housekeeping chore. In the process, in the situation where we have people who are not paying their utility bills and have not mowed their yards and have been notified sufficient times, and if there's no response, the city then does provide that service. And so that cost of that does get applied to their individual taxes. So that we have a list that we see it's, exactly.
Only their taxes, has
Those-
nothing to do with yours.
Right, so it's just individual billing for services if they were delinquent in, say, paying their water bill or something like that. So that's what that is about, and it's a regular business item. It's not a controversial thing. We get a listing of people who haven't paid things. Usually it's not a very big list, fortunately, and so that's why it's on the consent calendar where we don't discuss individuals or who or anything like that. So is that sufficient explanation? Okay, and I will, all of those other questions, I will make sure that's sufficiently discussed through, okay. Anyone else have a comment or a question or something about the agenda today? Okay, seeing no one's get up, let's proceed to the consent calendar. Are there any changes as far as we know? Anyone have a change? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as it is.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Could we have roll call, please?
Moore,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, and it doesn't look like we have any reports tonight. We are going to go to unfinished business and consider the contracts with AEP for the street lighting replacement plan as discussed at our May 13th City Commission meeting. So, Bill, do you want to kind of go into that?
Mayor and Commissioner, the last meeting, you were presented with a opportunity for the city to receive from AEP, INM, all new streetlights in the city. They're LED lights, quite an upgrade from what we have. The illumination will be much greater, cleaner, crisper looking out there. And the proposal is basically a pretty win-win situation, as you heard last week, and in the information provided in your briefing, that although we're not going to realize any true energy savings with the new efficient lights, it's kind of a trade-off between AEP fronting the tens of thousands of dollars to put up new lights, actually probably $100,000+ to put up new lights in the city, and their recovery on that over the years. So we'll get all brand-new lights. I think there's 332 new street lights in the city. There will be some opportunities, and I think there's about 3 additional lights that will work with INM. We've had some comments about a couple of unlit areas in the city. We'll be talking with them about putting up additional poles to fill into those kind of 3 areas that were discussed or brought to our attention that it could benefit from some additional streetlights and moving forward. So again, I submitted the contract to Jonathan Burke, and some of you remember him. He did the energy analysis for the city of Buchanan. That was another win-win situation for us. He actually worked with AEP and identified the fact that we were on the wrong tariffs, being billed a little higher rate than we should have been. That's been corrected, and as you saw from your briefing, that shifting of the tariff saved us $3,000 a year on our light bill, which is a real positive. And he highly supports the maneuver here to gain all new streetlights in town. It's not an overall savings for the city. The city will be paying the same amount moving forward. There won't be any increases. We'll probably, eventually, I'm seeing a reduction in the future as things go. And so right now, we're looking to hear from you on approving this agreement with AEP. Again, other communities, City of Benton Harbor, St. Joe, and I believe a small area of Dowagiac has received these new lights. And they've been well received by the communities in those areas, so.
Any questions from the commission?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Donnie?
I agree. They, in the pictures that we were shown, they look really nice. And I drove around the city, and we have some areas that really have poor lighting. The lights are very dim. They almost illuminate nothing on the street. However, when I look at 332 lights, and he really couldn't even nail down a price for us as far as the cost of lights. He said between $250 and $350. At $250, we're looking at $83,000, which is our benefit. At $300, $99,600, and at $350, $16,200. He said that the lifespan of the lights would be 15 years, approximately,
I believe that's what he said.
and there would be no benefit for 15 years, right, to us, I mean, other than the better lighting. So if you take the $15 per light, which the cost of the electricity is going to be cut in half, it comes out almost $900,000 in utilities for electric, like they are right now. We're going to cut that in half, so that means they would be saving over 15 years, $448,000 off of our lighting needs. So it's, to me, it's trying to weigh out $100,000 plus disposal. And you had mentioned they're expensive to dispose of, which we really didn't elaborate on that, but I got to throw the question of how much would that be? And if we were to buy lights ourselves and put them up, pay the city workers to do it for us, $448,000 goes a long ways for lighting. I might consider a shorter contract with them, like instead of the 15, well, they didn't even nail it down to 15 years. But, I mean, we're going to be paying twice the amount, basically, for the next 15 years on the life expectancy of the lamps. If we were to limit that to like 5 years and then go back to the actual cost of the lamps, or 7 years, I don't know. I didn't crunch those numbers.
I can have the representative come back. I can research these questions and put it in your next briefing. How would you like to?
Well, is there, it seemed like this was a set program that they were the Utility Commission was putting on them to encourage them to do this, so it's, basically, the whole point is very rapidly you get the energy costs, savings. And they would they have all the, the equipment and the people to do it, and also would change poles if they saw there was other issues like that. So that's part of it, but if we wanted to add poles, like after we get this, then we have to pay for the extra. But if it was an LED thing, it would be not that expensive that way. But I would recommend, maybe you could contact him and see, is there any room for negotiation, or is this program set up specifically and there's not a possibility of shortening the contract period, or so that we can recoup the cost savings sooner? Maybe you could give us an analysis side by side of what it would be if we tackled it, if we'd have to
Can I
have,
play devil's advocate?
sure, I mean,
Respectfully.
Yeah.
I think by the time you take that $448,000 that they're gonna have in savings, but what the only thing you had, the only dollar amounts that you figured was the price of the light bulb,
Yes.
or the new fixture. You don't have any of the
Labor.
labor in there to do that,
Yes.
plus the disposal. I don't know. I mean, to me, the more I thought about it, I didn't necessarily agree. Number one, I didn't think the presentation was that great at the last meeting that he gave us. And I was kind of on the fence about it. But the more I thought about it, I don't know how we can go wrong by having a city with matching lights, that someone comes in and does the labor. That leaves our guys available to do what they're supposed to be doing. That's my.
Commissioner Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, he did mention that they have an outside contractor that comes in, and they bring their own vehicles. I believe he said it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for them to do it. All the costs of the labor, maintenance, the change of the lights is taken care of. The city doesn't have to afford that. They will change the bulbs and so on. The only thing is that if we wanted to have another post, like the mayor said, then we would have to pay for that. As long as there's no changes and we don't make any more requests, for an actual pole, then there's no cost to the city. The major thing is, none of the city workers are going to be involved in this. This is all done by a private contractor. And I think this is a real good deal for the city. Again, you're going to have uniform lights, too. So I'm for it. Well, that's only, maybe it's because I worked for a utility in Chicago, so.
Bill?
Didn't you had a price that you'd come up with before, right? I thought,
Yeah,
or a ballpark.
we did look at this almost 4 years ago, what it would take to install new lighting within the city. And that time it was $350,000. And, they would give us some great financing over 8-year payback or whatever it was. But that was a little steep at the time. So a couple of notes. One, AEP owns the poles, we don't. And our people can't put up the lights because they're not an electrician. So we'd be prohibited from that. I think that's where the private contractor comes in.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm still open for.
Well, I guess what comes to mind is that he said the life expectancy of these lamps was 15 years, but let's say the price of electricity stayed the same. So we're going to be paying double the amount of the electricity forever. I mean, he gave no end to that. I mean, these streetlights are going to cost us whatever for eternity. I mean, there has to be an end to that so that, things go back to normal costs for electricity.
I can easily ask him these questions, and we can look at this on the June 10th meeting after we get some additional answers.
I would make the motion then that we table this until the June 10th meeting.
Do we have the correct questions that Commissioner said over there?
Yeah, I think we,
So we can have everything down. They're valid points, I understand. But I think they should possibly be answered if it's another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think it should
So
be
that
left
you
open-ended.
understand.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there support for the motion to table?
I'll support that.
Okay. I have a motion and support. Is there further discussion about tabling this?
But the only thing I think, make sure we have all the questions down that we want to ask them, so there's no
Okay.
misunderstanding.
Okay. All right. Let's have roll call on the motion to table this item.
Moore,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we're to our new business, and we are going to go to the first item, which is the agreement on the Municipal Bond Advisory Service. Bill?
Mayor, Commissioners, in the process of building the new oxidation ditch, the need for us to bond that expense is really our only option. In order to get to the point where we can offer our bonds up on the open market for purchase, we have to jump through a bunch of hoops, financial hoops. One, to get to the offering of a bond takes a lot of work in the fact that you have to have a bond attorney, which is not our local general attorney, this bond attorney is very familiar with the financial ins and outs and review of the bonding process. You have to have a financial advisor, and that was Andrew. He presented to you the information about the process. You have to have Andrew, the financial person, and then the attorney, which is from Miller Canfield office, which is a well-known across the state legal firm that is one of the experts in offering municipal bonds, getting the process understood, moving forward to get in a position to offer these bonds up for sale. And these are the two more of the steps that we have to go through to get to that point. We are keeping you in the loop step by step as we proceed forward. We've secured the cost of the financial person who Andrew and Baker Tilly is a company that we'll be using. And that cost is $26,000 for them to do what they need to do to maneuver this process through to the point of sale. And then we need a bonding attorney. Their cost to do all the legal maneuvering and work is $47,000. Again, we are in need of bonding for $9 million, and unfortunately, these are the expenses, the normal expenses when you bond. These are the normal expenses to pay for a financial person and a bonding attorney.
And I believe these costs are going to be incorporated within the bond.
Yes, these costs will be rolled into the bond amount. Yeah, will be almost $140,000. The way I'm figuring, it will be about $140,000 just to get our bond to market, for them to be purchased. And that, we've dealt with and received a lot of information through Andrew. We've spoken directly with commercial banks, Chemical Bank, Horizon Bank, the bigger players around on if we would do a commercial loan, and they will only go 15 years maximum. And actually, 9 million is more than they would really lend us. So a commercial or a bond will allow us to go 20 years out. That's the payment we'll need to receive to make this a reasonable venture for us. So that's kind of where we're at.
Commissioner Tierney?
And I believe we wanted to go 20 years because that lowers all the other costs that's
Yeah.
to the city citizens.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we wanted to go with the 20 years instead of the 15-year bond.
That 20-year bond from the 25-year bond will save you, I believe it was 1.3 million?
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, it's
paperwork
about
here.
1.3 million in interest rate, or interest costs over that 5 years, so. Again, the annual cost for the plant and the bond is already understood and achievable through increases in the water and sewer rates. And I think, as I think we all can recall, that project over the course of next 3 or 4 years could raise rates as high as six more dollars to pay for that bond.
Commissioner Tierney?
I just had one other comment. What this basically is that they're being our underwriters for this bond issue. It's like going to the stock market and putting your company up for sale. You need someone to go out there and be an underwriter for you, and there's a cost of doing that. And this is basically what they're doing. They're going to be our underwriters for this particular bond issue. So that's their fee for doing it. It's just like if you were going to bring a new issue to the stock market, you have to have somebody who's going to sponsor you. Well, that comes at a cost in order to get that particular item to the stock market. So I'm just trying to compare what the bond to the stock would be. So they're acting as our agents.
Are there any other comments about this item A specifically?
I think she had something about the asterisk.
Yeah, and basically, I'm going to let you know with the little asterisk, if you look at the second page of your agendas, that means that there's backup materials with any of these items that have little asterisks. So we get extra reading material over the weekend, just in case you didn't think we had enough to do. And so that's the basis of our decisions about these different items.
May I-
Those are also available through the clerk's office.
And also, there's always one copy in the red folder over there for people to look at and to use as they see fit. Just make sure you return it so other residents can look at it.
So, okay, so we got that cleared up. Is there any further discussion about the approval of the agreement that we're talking about? Anyone ready for the motion?
Are we talking about a separate motion?
We have to have a separate motion for each of
Okay,
these.
got it.
Anyone like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion for item A to move to approve the agreement between the City of Buchanan and Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors LLC for municipal bond advisory services for finance of the wastewater treatment plant's oxidation ditch in the amount of $26,000.
Is
I'll
there?
second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item A? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Downey,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. And since we're going right into the second item, this is a similar situation, part of also obtaining financing for the new wastewater plant. Is there need for any further questions or discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Anyone?
I'll make the motion to approve the agreement between the City of Buchanan and Miller Canfield Paddock and Stone PLC to serve as bond counsel for proposed electric revenue bonds for finance of the wastewater treatment plant's oxidation ditch in the amount of $47,000.
Is there support?
I'll support.
And Commissioner Turney, thank you. Any further conversation? Let's have roll call, please.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes,
Downey,
Yes.
Turney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item C. Consider approval of the medical marijuana facility permit renewal for provisioning center for Swinhutch Enterprises located at 221 East Front Street.
Deborah's here tonight to present on this renewal.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm going to apologize in advance if I have to cough, but I am slowly getting better from the bronchitis. I am not the only one who is here tonight. Chris Hutchinson and his wife Tina Hutchinson are here to answer any questions that you might have. The staff has reviewed their application. We've spoken with both of them a number of times to make sure that we have all of the background information that we need. However, if you do have any questions, they're here to answer your questions. And so we would need to go into closed session, but we are all comfortable with moving forward.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Deborah specifically? Okay, if not, about the process? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion that we move to approve the medical marijuana facility permit renewal for provisioning center for Sinwich Enterprises located at 221 East Front Street.
Is there support?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further conversation? Let's have roll call.
Whedon,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes,
Downey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Deborah. Okay, we're now on our item D, the non-discrimination ordinance. And this is the first reading and scheduling the public hearing for 7 PM Monday, June 10th, 2019. Thank you, Deborah.
Again, Mayor and Commissioners, I did put on your desk today, we got a last-minute legal review, if you will, and we've made a few technical changes in the definitions. For an example, one of the definitions was actually hooked on to another one, so we had to change that, things like that. So that's why you see this copy on your desk. But I also put with the ordinance a summary, and for the first reading, I'd like to go ahead and read that, and then you've got the copy of the entire ordinance here. So the public hearing notice for us says, please take notice that the City Commission of the City of Buchanan, Berrien County, Michigan, will hold a public hearing at 7 PM Monday, June 10th, 2019, at Buchanan City Hall, 302 North Redbud Trail, Buchanan, Michigan, 49107. The purpose of the hearing is to invite and hear comments on an ordinance to amend the City of Buchanan Code of Ordinances, Chapter 46, Human Relations, Article 2, Discrimination, Division 1, generally, and add ordinance 2019.06/412, non-discrimination. The intent of this ordinance is that no person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws, nor shall any person be denied the enjoyment of his or her civil rights or be discriminated against because of race, color, religion, national origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, height, weight, marital status, or disability. Following is a summary of the ordinance. And then the format is Section 1 is the intent, Section 2, definitions, Section 3, discriminatory housing practices, Section 4, discriminatory public accommodations practices, Section 5, discriminatory employment practices, Section 6, other prohibited practices, Section 7, information and investigation, Section 8, conciliation agreements, Section 9, discriminatory effects. Section 10, exceptions. Section 11, interpretation. Section 12, violations and penalties. And Section 13 would be the effective date. And then a complete copy of the ordinance may be inspected and/or obtained from the city clerk, and all interested parties will be given the opportunity to be heard, et cetera, et cetera. So just also as a note, the city had our Human Relations Division. We have fair housing practices and things like that that went into effect under the Civil Rights Act. But since equal opportunity or non-discrimination, civil rights have been broadened to include a number of other items that weren't included back in the 60s. This is why we're taking a look at that, again, with the Buchanan one to try and be inclusive. So that's where we are. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there questions? Otherwise, I think we don't need any kind of further motion tonight. We just have this public hearing scheduled, correct? Or do we need to make some?
Yeah, as long as a public hearing gets scheduled, then we should be good.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to set that public hearing for Monday, June 10th.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing at 7 PM on Monday, June 10th.
Very good. Is there a second? We have support. Could we have roll call, please?
Ernie,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, item E, consider the purchase of a sludge pump replacement. Thank you, Bill.
Mayor and Commissioners, I would like to ask the Commission to consider purchasing a new RAS pump for the wastewater treatment plant. This pump's been in service since 1971. It's something that we had hoped would make its way through to the new plant, but during the winter it had a failure in the mechanical seal. And I looked for a replacement of the seal, but they're no longer available. Funny story, they actually had to look on microfilm to get the part number for it. So they're no longer available. So we decided to look into replacing it, and I went through about 5 or 6 options to find the best choice. I think I covered that we were, of the options, this submersible pump looks the best, the price is the best, and we have the ability to reuse it with the new plant. So I would like to ask the Commission to authorize the purchase of that pump for the cost of $10,891.
You got about another 4,000 or 5,000 for installation too, right?
Correct. At this point, we'll just be buying the pump. I don't think the installation will probably happen for a few months.
But that's going to have to be included in the cost then, right?
It'll probably be expensed in at a different line item at that time.
Okay.
And Bill, and thank you for the various items to show us what the different costs were associated with the different pumps. Will that need to be moved once the new ditch? So so there'd be an uninstall, basically a reinstall cost associated with that as well?
The uninstall won't be. The only reason it's costing $4,000 or $5,000 for the install is we're gonna have to have a couple of custom fittings made to adapt it to the application. When we pull it out, we'll just put a fitting on it and put it on a rail and load it into a tank.
Okay.
So there will be a cost, but it's not gonna be the same amount when we move it.
Okay.
Mayor, can we address Randall's question while we have Bill and Bill
Sure.
here?
Go ahead.
Randall, to answer your question, our annual maintenance will actually cover the majority of the mechanical operation and maintenance of the plant. There will be capital costs, like every 20, 25 years, we'll probably redo the rotors, but those will be big capital costs that are budgeted. But we actually have an annual maintenance line item for those items like pumps that will wear out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Are there any questions about the submersible pump? Yeah.
I just wanted to add for general information for the audience, the oxidation ditch is highly efficient process. We're going from a very mechanical plant that was built by basically Clark Equipment way back when, that has nearly 19
We've actually probably got 40 pumps now.
40 pumps.
We'll be going down to about 5.
And we're gonna go down to 5 pumps, and they're gonna be half the horsepower of what we've been dealing with. So the efficiency in the new oxidation ditch update to our plant will be incredible, very efficient, less costly. And again, it is believed that we will be saving nearly $50,000 a year in operational costs once the new plant comes on. It's going to cost us about $50,000 less to operate wastewater when the new plant comes on board than what we are now. So, you know, it is a good move for the city. And again, I really want to recognize Bill and all the employees down at the wastewater plant in keeping this operation going. And again, we do it with kind of our fingers crossed, you know, to make it to the time of the oxidation ditch. So, very good, sir.
Anyone have more comments? I do appreciate that, all the MacGyvering that you do to try to keep things humming along at a low cost, because the public may not realize it, but the other options were probably 2 or 3 times as expensive, even though this sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But when we were looking at repairs of twice that for something that will only be used a matter of months, you've really helped us find a reasonable solution. Yes, Commissioner Turney?
I just wanted to add a big thank you to all the water guys. I'm on other boards, and I hear nothing but outstanding thoughts and reviews from the Buchanan Water Department. When there's a question or an answer, you guys seem to know what exactly is happening and what to do, so I'm just kind of forwarding it on to you guys and to the city.
So,
You
appreciate
bet.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions about this, could we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we move the purchase of a return-activated sludge pump replacement for the wastewater treatment plant. There's no dollar amount in here, Your Honor? Should
It
I-
was in the briefing, it was
Yes.
$10,891.
Okay.
I'll support.
Okay. If no further discussion on the motion, let's have roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, we are now at public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Would anyone like to come forward?
This is Cindy Benson. I've got 3 things. Number 1, when you're up there and these mics don't work, please enunciate, because
Okay.
it's hard to understand some of your comments. Okay? All of you,
We will.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
We can have lessons in that if need be.
Okay.
2,
I don't need them.
Peter, and I'm hoping I'm saying his last name correctly, Lisi?
Lisi.
Lisi. Peter Lisi's letter in the paper a couple of issues ago made me bold enough to come up here and speak about this, and I'm speaking about it again. I would like to have us have a public, somewhere on this agenda, discussion of opting out of the sale of recreational marijuana. Medical marijuana is here to stay, and I've actually kind of come around to that, believe it or not. But recreational marijuana, while it will be used in the city limits because it's law, I don't think we need to be selling it here, especially downtown. I would like to have a discussion up there on that, on the agenda here at some point. And we don't have a very large window of time that you have the ability to opt out. Apparently, from what I'm reading, if you don't opt out by September sometime, it's going to be well nigh to impossible for you to opt out legally. So please have some kind of discussion up here so that I know what to do. Because if we need to do another referendum, which gets expensive, I will. I don't want to, because I don't want to. if we have a discussion up here and then the people can discuss it with you, that will be much better than me walking around and other people walking around getting signatures about getting a vote in the city about that. Because as Peter pointed out, it did not overwhelmingly pass in the city of Buchanan. It passed by a little bit. So please consider not selling it. I'm still worried about, we think there's going to be a lot of money coming in on that. I think there's going to be more problems than there are money coming in with that one issue. And another thing, our original promise by the city was when we opened up medical marijuana provisioning centers in downtown, that part of the rule was that there, in the signage, there would be no leaves. What happened to that? I don't see marijuana leaves on that. And it's a very tasteful design. I think it's very tasteful. But there's leaves. So please explain what happened to that issue. When did that change?
Did you want to say anything, or are we just going to go on to?
At some point, just give me an answer. I don't have to
Okay.
have it right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to discuss any non-agenda item?
Last time, Randall Peter, 312 West Chicago. The last time I was expecting to hear something about an employee who had disappeared, the city clerk. I didn't know what the city manager was going to talk about it. I assumed he was, but he didn't. So that passed. And now we have a DDA director who we don't understand, but citizens don't understand what happened, but apparently he's resigned. And we'd like to hear what happened and what's going to be done about it. Is Bill going to talk about it?
My question to you mean what can be done about it? Are you talking about asking the person to not resign or come back, or what are you,
No.
what's the outcome are you talking about?
I'm just asking for information.
More
really,
information?
And if we're going to get another one, or, and what their importance is. I mean, I can sort of guess, but I'd like to hear about it, not just leave it on.
Okay, the, remember, the DDA is its own taxing authority. It's made up of mostly the downtown business interests. And they're in the process of redefining themselves, and there was a disagreement, and the person resigned. And there's some other personnel changes. There's new people coming on, other people have left. So my advice is those are open meetings as well. They are, my understanding, it's going to be held at the Barker Building Conference Room. So you can come and then you can ask those board members, of which I'm a member, and Commissioner Downey is also a member, but then you can ask them directly, because we have not had a meeting since those events happened, so I can't give you like a consensus of what is going to go on. The group is going to have to kind of reconstruct itself and decide some new leadership, and that's all to be determined. So we can't really tell you. I mean, there's disagreements with every group, and this is going through some growing pains, and just welcome to the meeting. You'll find out more what people are wanting out of that group, and you're welcome to attend. But, you know, to discuss this guy doesn't like this person, I mean, that's not, we're not going to do that. But just the whole idea is there's disagreements, they're trying to find a new way, and that's what happens in a lot of these volunteer situations, so.
The other aspect of having a DDA director was that I think we have just joined the Niles Chamber of Commerce, whatever it's calling itself. And really, we're competing with Niles for a lot of business things. And I believe there was going to be a discussion about it, which I must have missed. about whether we were going to pay $8,900 or whatever to provide a few good meals and not much in the way of information, as I see it, since we're competing. Was that decision made, Well, and would the
He's talking
DDA
about the
direct
SMEGA kind of situation. I mean, we are planning, we did make that payment because we had agreed to it, and that is going to be up for review in October
Correct.
when our membership is up again. And then we had given those people notice the last time they came to the meeting and asked us and explained what their vision was. We have given them this current year to justify why we should make that expenditure. So we are monitoring the situation, and we expect to see some results. And in a way, yes, we are competing in some way to surrounding cities, but specifically, these are regional, we are actually joining regional efforts to have our region compete with other regions. So it's more of a broader sense than what you're thinking of this chamber against that chamber or something. These are broad efforts to get whole industries in or, be attractive to other groups, so.
Well, I looked at their website, and it's incomplete and not particularly professional looking either. And I was wondering if our money is going to go into improving the website or something like that. That was just a thought. But, I'm sure it will develop some way or another.
Yes.
But I hate the thought of giving away our secrets. And
We're not.
We are too. That's why we're. got
We are
stipulations.
being very careful about it, but thank you for your comments,
Okay.
because that is something we are monitoring very closely.
Thank
I appreciate it. Anyone else want to discuss some non-agenda item? Okay. Oh, we have someone else?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm here, Jennifer Hanover, and there's a group of people together that are working. We've ordered signs, and you'll be seeing these around town. I just wanted to come and kind of go over a little bit of what it's about and why we're doing it. We're very concerned with the direction of the Buchanan School District. We're upset that there's very little transparency. The teacher morale is at an all-time low. We're losing a lot of teachers and staff and students as a result of this. So it's just something we wanted to bring up so that everyone was aware.
Attorney, did you have a
Maybe if you can give me a little bit more information, maybe at a future date as to what are some of the problems. I mean, I'll go and talk to the superintendent over there. I was supposed to talk to him a couple months ago, but something else came up, and I had to cancel that meeting. But if you got some thoughts and some ideas on what is going on, I would be more than happy to sit down with him and ask him a few questions.
That's very difficult to do, but
It certainly is. There's a wall here and a wall there, and, yeah, but I would be more than happy to follow through on that,
that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
and I can get back to you.
Okay, sounds
My email is with the city if you wanted to just forward me, what your concerns are and thoughts,
good. Sure.
and I'll try to get over there. But I'd like to have something so I can say, hey,
Definitely.
this is what the concerns are. Can you tell me what's going on?
Great.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for your comments. Okay, is there anyone else? If no one else, let's have the city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. A couple of items in your briefing. I'm looking to try to schedule a work session for the DDA building to get together and have further discussion about that. Again, the main question I'd like to hear input on is the footprint size of the building. Do you see the added storage square footage to be beneficial enough to move towards that plan, or eliminate the storage and go with the basic structure for the DPW needs. So that would be one of them. We'd have, Pearson would be available to be present, to update us and provide you with the renderings of the two plans, and hear your discussions as well. I'd like to move this along fairly quickly. Again, tomorrow's date was an option, but not at this time. We need 18 hours to post it. But I don't know, Thursday evening, would that work for the commissioners? Oh,
She has a play she's.
Yeah, really, the night before our play,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, are you serious?
Thursday at 5 works for me.
well, you could use a break, maybe, huh?
Oh, yeah, maybe so.
Again, I don't think the work session would last that awful long, and,
Okay.
you know, at 5 or 6,
That probably would be okay.
This Thursday.
yeah.
I won't-
Yep.
The
I won't be
30th?
there.
What's that?
I can't make that, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I can make it.
I can make it.
Okay. At great sacrifice, I will make it.
We're doing 5 or 6?
Let's try for,
5's better. I mean,
let's try for 5.
Thursday at 5?
Thursday at 5? Okay.
Okay. Is that doable for you?
I got
You
my
won't
phone,
make
I
it
gotta mark
all
down
on
the
Thursday
old one.
night? Okay. Could we make a different date that he would be able to make it?
Well, we can. I mean, if he wants to provide us with his input, or we
Okay.
can brief him afterwards, what, you know, whatever.
I mean, I
All right,
think-
would
I
that be
think
okay with
Yeah, I was
you?
at the last work session, so I'm
Okay,
fine. I mean, I
okay.
think that we were all in
I just don't
agreeance.
want to purposefully, exclude anybody
No,
if we
I
can
think we were
avoid
in
it.
agreement on a lot of things, so I don't think
Okay.
any other changes, I think we'll all be.
Okay,
Mark
I
can
don't-
call me or talk to
Okay.
any one of you about
I can catch up with you on
his
Friday.
thoughts about it.
Yeah.
okay, that'd be all right.
So right now, is it set for Thursday? Okay.
Thursday at 5 PM,
I marked it down the old way, I didn't bring my phone.
okay.
Then, on the role of work sessions, also general work session, it was brought up that that was kind of beneficial in the fact that we could get together and talk about a variety of city issues, have that open discussion. And that would, I'm offering up June 5th, which is a Wednesday night, as a possibility for that. If you could check your schedules and, if you're comfortable, we could set it. If not, get back with me.
June 5th, probably, that whole week of, that's a Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday's my only open dates. I have a big family thing for the week after that.
Okay. Well, we can, we can move it to,
Tuesday would be all right, I think.
which day?
Tuesday, the
The
4th.
4th,
Tuesday, the 4th? Okay.
And which meeting is this? I'm losing track.
General work session.
Oh, okay.
at what time?
Again,
5?
5 or 6 would,
Okay,
Either one's fine for
let's
me.
try, let's try 5. Can
All right.
people make that?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
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 very good. Again, if you weren't able to make it, the Memorial Day Parade on Monday, yesterday, was very well attended. Actually, the veterans and the Legion people that walked in the parade were very impressed and appreciated the turnout by the public for that event. The streets were well-lined with people, several rows back. The ceremony out at the cemetery was very, very moving. Again, I do want to make acknowledgement of the efforts by our cemetery crew to prep those 40 acres and the 9,000 headstones that we have out at the cemetery, to get that all spruced up by Memorial Day. And that's quite an effort to get it all put together for appropriate recognition of the veterans that gave so much to us. So, again, I'm very pleased with that turnout. Actually, the 4th Street Redbud project is still on schedule, even though they've had some rain delays. We are moving forward. They have set the foundation pieces for the streetlight poles. They are in the ground. They are curing at this time, so they do have to wait about 28 days before they really can put the maximum stress on those poles. But we're moving along with that project.
They were pouring sidewalks and curbs today, so it's really kind
Oh,
of starting to take,
Oh,
you can kind of see it now.
I haven't
You
even
can
seen
see
that
where
yet,
everything
so
is. Good.
That's good. Yeah, there's some dimension now that you're getting a feel for what it'll look like, and hopefully it'll be a very positive improvement in that intersection. And the public and our visitors will be very comfortable with that intersection.
Can I ask a question? If they're, and I say this, if they're not done by the time Red Bud starts, are there plans to make traffic?
They're telling me they will be done by the time the weekend of Red Bud will start. Again, the Red Bud gates will open at 6 p.m. on July 3rd, so hopefully we'll have all that wrapped up before that time period. And then the main race is on Saturday. We will be offering up staging on Wednesday using our large parking lot. We cooperate with Red Bud, and we allow the early arrival campers and trailers and racers to stage on our property up off of River Street. And then we facilitate and escort them down Red Bud to the gate to help out with the traffic, because Red Bud 2 lanes gets kind of dicey with an unorganized group of people trying to get in that gate. We also will be running some shuttle service from our parking lot during the day of the staging. They'll be helping transport all the race goers up at the parking lot back into the city. There'll be a couple stops uptown, downtown, and back up to the track or the staging area. We're also working on running a shuttle from the racetrack back into town during the race to get the people who want to take a break or need some supplies to get back into town. And we do provide 3 stops there. Lowry's is a popular stop. Then we stop uptown and downtown for the people to mill about, go to the restaurants, buy their supplies, and then we shuttle them back to the track. It's been a pretty popular service we've offered in the past. It was highly requested last year. We have a limited number of hours we run it, but Amy out at the track received several requests for that to continue. They appreciated that effort. And that services our businesses, gets that, those race goers who want to take a break or don't have the strongest interest in motocross to get off of the track and come into town, so. That's all I have.
Okay, very good, thank you. Commissioner Turney, do you want to start tonight?
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. First off, I'm on the Planning Commission, and I just want to let everybody know that we did not meet, so there was nothing to report tonight. However, I'm also on the East Berrien County Landfill Authority Board, So there's a couple items that I just want to share with the public here tonight. One of them, the board was concerned about the plant waste from redbud roots, which is the waste from the marijuana. So I actually talked to the CEO, Dave Murray, and I'll read what he said to me, which I presented to the board, which answered their question. First off, they're going to be using Michiana as their trash hauler, which we're right now having a contract discussion with Michiana. So we're trying to find out what's going on there. Basically, it says, "Hi Dale, I'm following up on our conversation yesterday regarding waste at Redbud. Per state guidelines, we destroy any unused material into a 50-50 mix with one of the following: dirt and soil, sawdust, cat litter, sand, wood chips. We blend the unused materials with a paint mixer until it is unrecognizable. Please let me know if you have any other further questions." So with that, the landfill board was happy to hear, because they were concerned about the smell, which is a legitimate situation, so that would take care of all that. The other thing, on Saturday, May 18th, when they were doing their inspections, they found an abandoned horizontal gas well with regained gas pressure, and one of the caps were forced off, which was forcing leachate to be come out and onto the land. And this was discovered at 8:07 a.m., okay? And they isolated it at 8:11 a.m. after it was discovered. And let's see, by 6 p.m., everything was taken care of. They had taken all the dirt away, which was contaminated and so on, capped it again. And so they really, there was no violation. So they weren't fined by the state or anything. So they found it, took care of it, and they did a good job on that. The other major issue that's going on with the landfill, there's a company on property called the North American Natural Resources, Inc., and they partner with the landfill. They buy our gas from the landfill that deteriorates. So when, when garbage deteriorates, it gets gas. Well, they buy it from us and they send us a check. Apparently, there was a contract signed back in, let's see, March of 2008, and they don't seem to like what's going on from 2008, so they wanted us to do some things, and we got a gentleman to come out and give us guidelines, and he sort of told us where we stand. We didn't break any contract and not to sign anything. So we basically had a special board meeting. We told them we're going to do some adjustments, and they weren't happy with us, so we're going to go to arbitration. I think I left you a message, Bill, about that, so you know about that. So we're going to arbitration with them, so we don't know what the outcome is on that. So those are the three things that basically happened. Cindy, I appreciate your comments the last two meetings, so I'm going to respond to them, okay? So as you know, you had an opportunity back before the Proposition 18-1, adult recreational marijuana use, was voted on. You couldn't get the signatures, but you were willing to cost the city a lot of money. So you couldn't get them. So the proposition, it went to vote. State of Michigan, yes, 2,354,000. No, 1,858,000. County of Berrien, 56% yes, 44% no. City of Buchanan, Precinct 1, 473 yes, 349 no. Precinct 2, 360 yes, 311 no. Total, 833 yes, 660 no for the city of Buchanan. In this current political environment where people vote on things, it's passed, and other people don't like it, they want to keep bringing things back. It's voted on. It's done. Now, if this comes up through this board, I'm going to vote no, that if they want to ban it. So I'm just letting these guys know and the lady know that people have already voted. And I'm tired of, not only here, but the whole country. When it's done, it's done. That's why we have a democracy. That's why you go out and vote. If you don't vote when it was there, I can't hold your hand to go vote for it. So basically, that's my thing on that. But I respect your opinion. So I'm just giving you an opposing view on that. So, and I'm also letting the board know where I stand, okay? Okay. And I also want to know, to welcome Zen Leaf Provisioning Center in Buchanan. And that's all I have for tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Downey, it's your turn.
No comments tonight.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Whedon?
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to the farmer's market. If you haven't been since it started, please, please, by all means, take an opportunity to stop by there. For heaven's sakes, buy a pie if you have not. And I promise you will not be disappointed in the least bit. It's been a breakfast of choice for my house. I know that's not great, but it's breakfast, and what the heck, it's pie. So please go down there. There'll be more vendors as time goes on. If you have a dog, a four-legged individual, Chris, I know you've got, and Cindy, I know yours walks by my house. I don't have treats to give him, but you go down the other side now so that we don't have conflict. But they have organic treats down there. Please go down and take your dog there, right? The dog park. We can encourage the treats. So I want to just a plug for the farmers market. I am on that board, so please, if you get a chance, please go down there and check it out. It's amazing. As we've all seen, and if you're on social media even for a moment in our city, and if you're not, Cindy, I know you're saying no, and that's okay. Is we've all alluded to many times in the boards that we attend, please, if you're have concern, attend the meetings, right? If you have concerns about from things that we do here on this commission and things that happen out in other commissions throughout the city, please attend those meetings and encourage individuals who are in that town, much like the individuals here tonight, to make your voice heard and make sure that people hear what you have to say instead of just putting it out there on social media. Cindy, and once again, and not to beat a drum about the recreational marijuana, it is something that the people voted on. I'm not necessarily in lockstep with Dale, but I do agree that recreational marijuana was agreed upon. People voted on it, and they said they wanted it in the state of Michigan. I think that it's a requirement of the commission that currently sits to come up with policies and procedures to control that within our city, and I think that might be part of your major concern, right? So as much as I agree with you on that, I also am going to agree that it was voted on, and it's something that's not going to be going away, so it's our duty to make sure we have things in place to control it within the city, even if it's not in agreement with everybody that's within the city. Yeah. Right. And also, I think what Ms. Dale said was Zen Leaf. I appreciate their professionalism and the way that they've conducted themselves so far. Same thing with Red Bud Roots. I think they've done an amazing job to be a representative in the town, so thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Okay, Commissioner Dennison?
I didn't want to forget anything, so I'm going to read my comments tonight. Over the course of the last few months, something unique has been happening in our community. Something that happens all the time, and it happens rather unknowingly. That something is progress. As a noun, Merriam-Webster defines progress as gradual betterment. After years of work by the city administration, the city commission, small business owners, lawyers, countless others, Buchanan now has its first medical marijuana growing facility and its first medical marijuana dispensary. Plans are in place for large investments in the city for other grow facilities that, combined with the already functioning facility, promises hundreds of future jobs being created in Buchanan. That's something that hasn't happened here in decades. That is progress. Progress requires two things. The first is change. You cannot make progress without it. You cannot have a different outcome unless you do things in a way you haven't done them before. The second thing required is patience. We all know that Rome wasn't built in a day. Anything worth our efforts will take patience and persistence in order to achieve the progress we seek. While some efforts in the community seem to be achieving our goals, others sadly are not. I'm disappointed to report that after only 4 months in his new position, the newly hired DDA director recently resigned. In my opinion, the newly hired director was doing everything he should have been doing to ensure his and the DDA's success. First and foremost, he was observing, seeing how things were currently being done so that he could come up with a plan to make things better. Building relationships and networking, speaking with business owners and hearing their concerns, all of those things take time. Now, subsequently, a chairperson has also resigned, partly due to the events that led to the director's resignation. It seems the progress that the DDA was making into becoming an entity all its own is lost, the result of a few that do not appear to be open to change and do not have the patience to ensure progress. Our school system has also been getting a lot of publicity in the last few weeks, and quite honestly, it makes me sad. Everything short of torches and pitchforks has come out in force against the school board and the superintendent. I'm not saying that any of the concerns and frustrations that some have made public are not valid. However, the superintendent has been here for 2 years, spending the first year, again, observing, because no executive in their right mind would come in right away and start changing things. So we patiently observed how things were currently being done so we could come up with a plan to make things better. Now that he started introducing change that the school board obviously agrees with him on, the school board that we voted for, now everyone is upset. The point that I would like to try and make on this subject is not to defend the school board, and it's not to defend the superintendent. My sincere concern is with how many members of the public have made their concerns known. Lobbying insults from the comfort of your Facebook page, many of them vulgar, is cruel, cheap, and cowardly. We elected the school board, and we were given the chance to have input on the hiring of the superintendent. We are to blame for the failures in our school system. But more importantly, we have the ability and the responsibility to make things better in our school system. Socrates said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." I would encourage everyone in our community to focus their energy in a positive way and to remember that our children are watching us. They see how we react to difficult situations. What are we teaching them?
Thank you, Commissioner Dennison. My comments tonight, I do also want to say congratulations to Zenleaf. I have a lot of pride when the reporters are asking me, of all the places in southwestern Michigan, how is it Buchanan beat everybody to have the first provisioning center? Because really, when you look at the staff and the people that have been working with these people, they're very professional. They knew what to do. They came from a state with a lot more regulations than what we have. So they were not adverse and they were prepared and things went smoothly. So I'm proud of that. We are really helping, and a lot of people have come forward saying, how do they get action and get access to that? So I do believe they're still having a booth at the farmers market. So if you have questions about how to obtain a medical marijuana card, if you're having difficulties with pain issues and anxiety and those sorts of things that they are geared towards, please go to the farmers market and find out the information you need to take to your doctor so you can access this new industry that we're welcoming to the community. It may not be for everybody, but if you are in need, this is now available in your own hometown. I also wanted to say in publicity, I happen to actually read all the junk mail I get. That's why I have no time. And here's the Health Currents magazine from Lakeland Spectrum. And Anna, Flowers by Anna, got the cover. Buchanan Business being celebrated in a quarterly local magazine, so I think that's pretty cool. So congratulations to her for that exposure. And I really do want to say a sincere thanks to the Legion. Year after year, to stay the course and to offer such a great and serious and poignant event such as Memorial Day, you have to have a lot of dedicated members. And the Legion has every year put on, organized the parade. It is not a city event. The Legion organizes it. They provide the staffing of it. We support them with our police and other things to make the parade move smoothly and safely through town. And just the whole event. They do it every year, and that takes a lot of commitment to do something every year. It isn't something that they do until they get tired of it and it goes away, or unless their dedication, you get a couple firebrands and they're passionate and they lead you in a certain direction, and then they move on or they get other interest and then they do something else with their energies. These people, year in and year out, just like the Garden Club, we should celebrate people who stay to the course and provide something year after year, because we can't take people like that for granted. We dare not take people for granted. Volunteers in this community do so much for us, and we hardly take even just a couple moments of recognition does not measure what these people do on a day-to-day basis for us. And especially the veterans have given us everything. So we do need to say thank you in a sincere way to them for that celebration. So anyway, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, which was a very good meeting. Thank you for all the public input. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.